We good.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited. There's one more. I'm so excited to welcome you in the Queens of Wisdom. And this is my first guest today, Wioletta Kudlinska. She's the owner of the brand More Than Just Cope. And she works with women on their confidence and the power of the voice in their businesses and obviously in the businesses and much more. She will tell us more about it, but I'm so delighted that Wioletta, you accepted the invitation to this event and you would love to, I would love to ask you for over the questions and have you in here to hear your wisdom, we're gonna share with us about this, such a powerful tool as our voice. On this occasion, I have to admit, I've got this gorgeous picture behind me and this is a picture, this is a drawing by Eva Trapshaw. She's going to be one of our speakers.
Oh, yes.
But when I was deciding which picture I'm going to have, I couldn't for a long time. And finally, this one with this throat, with this
Yeah, I can see, yeah.
with the voice, I said, this is going to be mine. So this is perfect for this.
Amazing.
To having you here. And all yours. If would you like to add to what I introduce you, please do.
Oh, thank you so much, Ella, for this invitation. It's such a, I feel it's such a privilege to take part in this beautiful summit. I feel like you've gathered together so many interesting and powerful and inspiring women, and I'm just feel privileged to be one of them. So thank you so much for reaching out. And yes, like you said, I work with women, mainly with women who are sensitive, deeply feeling, often introverted women who have so many beautiful, inspiring ideas, start so many beautiful businesses, but yet there is that struggle to show up for that business. There is that struggle to speak up for that business. And especially now, because so many businesses are online, it's almost like a new concept. Some women feel confident speaking face to face about what they do, but then when it comes to showing up on camera and doing this kind of events, doing lives, just talking about what they do, with that confidence, with that conviction, is a struggle. So that's when I come in.
This is amazing.
In a nutshell.
And I think it's so needed. When you saying this, I actually had that little spark that not only online, but also in sort of like slightly bigger public, or we know what we're doing, but in it comes like, if a couple of people know what you're doing actually, then but you cannot express it. So it's not even that far as, in front of the camera, but actually, I believe so many people, so many women or people as well, struggle with generally expressing what we want to share with the world, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And so public speaking will be almost, you can think of it as just an extension of it, because if you struggle to express yourself in your personal life, in your creative life, if you struggle to put yourself out there and talk about what you want, what you need, what your desires are, then of course public speaking, it will be affected as well. And I like to think of public speaking as not just standing on stage, but everyday speaking as well. It's public, it's talking to people, whether it's on camera or whether it's in, normal life, day to day, you are talking to someone. And there could be that anxiety there. And that was the case for me. It wasn't just about, it was about public speaking, but then because it was so profound, that fear, that anxiety, it transferred into my personal life. So yeah, lots of different areas of life can be affected. And And I think, I mean, we could talk about it all day, couldn't we?
Yeah, we have 45 minutes.
About the power of our voice and, you know, how our voices have been suppressed, you know, for generations. So we've got to think about it as well. You know, now we feeling more empowered. Now we want to step in and claim that voice back. But there is still very much deep-rooted trauma, generational wounds that many of us need to face, need to work through and heal.
I just have a goosebumps when you're talking about, because that's so profound for myself as well. And I see, you know, this movement, and it's been like all of a sudden from all angles. Like when we focus on something, you see more and more of it, obviously. And you know, it's coming from so many directions, that story about voice and about speaking and about the power of voice, but not the scream of the rave of, you know, it's just obviously that sometimes is needed as well, and might be the moment of opening, you know, that in a
Oh, Ella, I can't hear you.
yeah, I muted myself instead of muting one of the participants. So okay, so you know, this, you know, sometimes it's needed, that rave, to just go like and make a little bit more space. But then we're talking about the power of the confidence, which sometimes is in very quiet voice. Very often is the precision if in the communication, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
I love that so much. And Violetta, what is the main reason, apart from the ancestors, what we already mentioned, and the generations, with just the suppression of the voice, the women are, what you coming across with women are struggle to talk?
I'll talk about it just in a second, but I just wanted to touch on what you just said, that very often it's that quiet inner voice. And we often think that confidence, you know, speaking with confidence is about being loud. And very often we feel intimidated by someone who is out there and is overpowering you. If you're in a room with someone, and I've been in that kind of rooms many times where there's been someone who's almost taken over. And but my point here is, like, if you have that inner confidence that you know you can express yourself, but in the moment sometimes you choose not to. Not because you have that fear, not because you feel nervous, but because maybe it's not your energy, maybe you just simply don't want to. And that's still okay. It's still okay to be quiet, but deep within, feel that confidence. That when the moment comes, you know you can rely on your voice. You know you can express yourself with no problem. And I think that it's so important to realize, and for many women who are introverted as well, that just because you are introverted, just because you are maybe softly spoken, it does not mean that your voice lacks confidence. It doesn't lack power. Yeah. And going back to your question, Ella, the things that I come across, I mean, obviously we can say, you know, every woman is different, so it will be different things for every woman, and depending on her business as well and her personal journey. But there's so many things like, I hate the sound of my voice. Exactly. Quietness doesn't mean your voice lacks confidence. So just reading the comments, yeah. And yeah, women hating the sound of the voice, especially when they learn to speak with more confidence, which means they'll bring more energy, more authority, more conviction into that voice, and they are met with rejection. You know, they are met with barriers. It's things like rejection, that sense of rejection, especially if you are a neurodivergent woman, again, deeply feeling sensitive woman, and you make an attempt, you take a step showing up for your business. And again, regardless whether it's online or whether it's, you know, in day-to-day life, that sense of rejection, you can feel it deeply. It's almost like a pain, it's visceral. And I've worked with many women who were saying, I just fear being ignored because I spoke about my business, because I did show up and there was very little engagement, or someone didn't even respond to what I was saying. You know, they ignored what I was talking about. And even though they feel that business and what they create is amazing, it's powerful and makes amazing impact, you know, for the clients that they work with, still because they are scared of that rejection, it will hold them back. There is that fear of failure, you know, but there's so many fears, there's anxiety, many physical symptoms that we experience that stop us. But the way I'd like to think about it is if we put it in 3 different categories. So usually it's a lack of skills, because public speaking and speaking in general is a skill.
Mhm.
So I'd like you to think, ladies, like if you think about your voice, it's a behavior. The way you speak is a learned skill. It's a learned behavior. And you learn the sound of your voice and how to speak when you were little. So think about, do you sound more like your mum, like your dad, your caregiver, whoever was bringing you up? Just spend a moment just thinking about it. Because I'm naturally a softly spoken person and I speak the way my mum does. So for me, there was quite a lot of work to do that I had to do to bring it more volume to my voice. And it's not about screaming, but bringing different dynamic, bringing different energy into my voice. And your voice is, and I love like my public speaking and vocal coach, he always says, your voice is like an instrument. And if you think about your voice as maybe a violin or a piano, yeah, we spend most of our lives using just a few different tones, a few different keys or strings. That's what we used to. This is our learned sound. This is how we sound. But our voice is more than just those few keys or strings. It's a whole big instrument. But we don't realize the potential of it because we don't. It's saying like if you learn to paint in only one specific way, and you think, oh, I'm good at this, but I'm not good at this kind of painting. You know, if you do watercolors, you might say, oh, I can do oil painting or, you know, whatever. It's the same with your voice. How many times you said to yourself, I'm not a confident speaker. Public speaking is not for me. I'm not that person. And we feed ourselves with those lies because you have a voice that, and you can learn different skills. So that's one thing. Women lack skills. But then if we offer them those skills, yeah. So if I, for example, if I work with women and I say, you know, these are different things that you can try, do different things that we can do, and we practice them. For some, that's enough. But for some, and Ella, you know about this as well, and I'm sure many of you in this group will. Exactly, yes. And the other thing that we missing is the identity shift that many of us don't think about. So if you say to yourself, like I said, you know, public speaking is not for me, I'm not that woman, I'm not that person, then you are stuck in that old identity. You need to constantly connect yourself with that vision of that woman who speaks with confidence, who shows up for her business. And I absolutely loved, Ella, watching your transmissions because that was just such a powerful identity work that you were doing there, just showing up every day and speaking and using your voice. Also like creating that habit, but changing that perception and that vision of yourself. I am that woman who speaks up for her business, who speaks with confidence about her services, about her offers, about her ideas and creations. So you need to be connecting with that energy and making decisions from that place, not from the place of that scared businesswoman who has doubts, because I'm not saying ignore them, absolutely not, but consciously be connecting with that higher vision of yourself. How is she speaking about her business? How is she moving? How does she carry herself when she speaks? That is very powerful work, yeah? So we lack skill, so skills are very important. We approach speaking from a lack of identity, that powerful, empowering identity. So we need to shift that. And the third thing I would say, there's lots of fears, anxiety. So to me personally, it was anxiety around speaking. Symptoms, physical symptoms that many women experience. Those fears of my mind's going to go blank. Oh my God, that's one of the biggest, and especially for neurodivergent women and for myself as well. It has been for many, many years. You know, what if I start speaking, I forget what I wanted to say? I'll lose my train of thoughts. And yeah, so fears, anxiety, symptoms. And what do we do about that? You know, because you can learn the skill and you can know how to operate with your voice. And you are making those decisions from the higher place. Yeah, so you are saying yes to speaking opportunities. You are showing up. But then in the back of your mind, deep within, you still have that overwhelming fear where you fear rejection, where you physically experience that nervousness and anxiety. Yeah, you shake, you struggle to catch your breath. And for me personally, years ago, when I first started working on my public speaking, I wasn't able to finish a sentence when I was talking to a group of people. I had, yes, skills, new identity, yeah. And being able to work with those fears and with our body. And like I said, you know, like many years ago, I couldn't finish a sentence because I didn't know how to breathe. So my voice was shaky every time I tried. You know, if I put my hand up at university, if I was speaking at work, it was a very weak, shaky voice. My body was trembling. So of course I couldn't focus on what I was saying. Of course I would forget my train of thoughts because I was very much in my anxiety. So knowing how to approach those fears from a very soulful angle, you know, going deep within and not going against those fears, but like I like to put your arm around your fear and you walk that journey of being a businesswoman, or even in life, personal life, with your fear by your side. And what I say to we don't fight fears because it doesn't work. How many times, and I'm wondering, through meditation as well, I'll talk about in a moment, but I was going to say no. See, forgot. Right, I'll go back to that meditation then. Yes, you can go deep within meditation, connecting with your inner child. Because like I know personally, and for many women that I work with, it's such an important element. And I've had a client in the past who had an opportunity to speak on stage in front of 100 people. And when the day came and she was told, oh, there's about 100 people, she wasn't aware how many people it was going to be. She said, no, I can't do this. And she literally ran off. And then she reached out and she said, you know, I felt like a little girl in that moment. There was so much anxiety and panic, and I just had to run away from it. And it is heartbreaking because so many of us create heart-led businesses. What we create comes from our heart, from our soul, you know, from beautiful creative desires, you know, and then we run away. So for many of us, it will be that connection with our inner child through meditation, through beautiful writing practices, through visualizations. And I find, I don't know about you, Ella and you girls, but I find when it comes to spiritual work and just going deep within, visualization very powerful. Dancing, yes, absolutely. Connecting with that higher energy, yeah. Yeah. Body, I have a module in my program which is called Body Awakening. Because again, we've got skills, we connect with that higher energy, so we create that identity shift, we learn how to work with our fears. But what if we feel that anxiety in our body? Yeah. So we need to connect with our body. We need to learn to express that energy in ourselves through our body.
This is fascinating, isn't it?
It is.
And I love it. And just like when you were talking about that, it's just one big word coming to my mind as shame. That's something big as well, isn't it? It is connected with rejection and with a childhood very often, the moments of school or being ashamed by colleagues, teacher, parents, whoever. But yes, and I love that, you know, when you explain about using that tiny bit of our possibilities of using our voice, because that reminds me like how much we operate in life. I always kind of go to, you know, using the same road to work every day, buying the same, you know, eating the same things, buying the same products, even if I like, say, cheese. Walking into the supermarket, there's so many different types of cheese, not just the one we just always buying the same. So it's about the courage also to move a little bit from the zone of comfort and start. And I never thought about voice this way. So I love that, you know, example, like how we can extend. And I love also that, you know, the 100 people speaking on the stage or wherever we are, seeing this as the journey of our preparation. And most of us is not ready to jump in on a big stage straight there when we just first pop to the public area, but then going from a smaller one and then just pushing ourselves with this, as I've done my challenge, and maybe many people do this as well. It is that exercise. Then you've got this oil in your lamp, and then when the opportunities happen, you can say fully, yes, darling, I've been waiting for that all my lifetime. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Because you know, because you've practiced so much, you know you're capable of doing it. But that's why I also love visualizations, because very often at the beginning, you don't have those opportunities. And I remember years ago when I was preparing for my first big conference, I spent weeks visualizing myself being on that stage. And just as I said before, visualizing how I carried myself. Did I hold a bottle of water in my hand? What did I do if I didn't know what to say? Or what did I do? What did I do if I forgot what I wanted to say? So visualizing all of this, not just you speaking and that speaking then going well, but also what if things come up? How do you behave? How do you act? How do you speak? And the more you do that mental rehearsal, the more like you teaching your mind, your brain, that actually, you know, it's not as scary. I've already done it so many times. But here, Ella, you did it in real life every single day for a very long time. And that's a proof to your mind, to your brain, that you can. You're capable of doing it.
I love that story you're sharing with this imagination, and this is working like that. Absolutely, fully I fully agree. But would you like to share with us a little bit about your story, how you get to that point of the confident speaker and the coach for women in speaking?
Yes. Oh. Oh, gonna try and keep it as simple as possible, although I'm not sure. My ADHD woman, so I'm not sure if it's possible for me. But so I've moved to England when I was 20, so I'm 40 this year. And I've never noticed this problem when I was in Poland. And I initially thought it had a lot to do with me learning to speak a different language. Because very often, and I'm sure some of you have those experiences as well, you wanted to express yourself and you couldn't. And people were saying something to you and you could not express your true self. And very often I used phrases that didn't exactly mean what I wanted to say. So I initially felt this was part of it, and I'm sure it was. But then the more I was working on myself, the more I was going within through therapy, the more I started to realize actually it comes from my upbringing. So I found myself in lots of different work settings here where I'd be scared to speak. And even though my English at that point was much better, it was still, oh, what if they're going to say this to me? And there was that fear of authorities, especially if I spoke to my boss, if I spoke to a tutor at uni. And then I remember I went to university to study occupational therapy and we had to present. And it was one of the reasons why I almost didn't go to university, because I thought, I can't do this. I can't do presentations, speaking to groups. And I wanted to be an occupational therapist, but then I thought, when I qualify, I have to speak to people. I have to speak to families. And what if they challenge me? And I have to do training for staff. And it was very overwhelming. I thought, I can't do this. But then that desire was there. So I just followed it. And I found myself once, and it was after the first presentation at uni, where I only had to speak for about a couple of minutes and I was in tears. My voice was shaking, my whole body was shaking. I thought at the time, like, what is wrong with me? And I found myself one day on the floor in my bedroom, just curled up and crying, because the vision that I had and desire for my life and how much I loved connecting with people and wanting to be out there and experiencing life, not matching the reality. I was like, I'm unable to talk to people without going red, without blushing, without feeling this sense of like they're going to see through me and I don't know what they're going to see, So that pushed me towards therapy because I thought I need to do something about it. I remember I had an intense weekend of NLP because I thought I need a fix quick. What did I say? Quick fix. Yes.
Quick fix.
Yes, it's gonna fix everything for me. And unfortunately, it didn't. Not in that weekend. Some things have shifted though at the time, although I didn't realize it at that time. So it's interesting. But then I had therapy and I started to show myself more compassion and, and loving myself. And so I started expressing myself, drawing boundaries. Then I started expressing myself more creatively and just trying different things. So if you think, oh, like I lack confidence in speaking and just expressing myself through my voice, I would say try even things like that don't relate to your voice. So solo dating, take yourself out on dates and try different things so that you can get to know yourself better, so that you can start expressing yourself through different channels, because you're building very strong foundation then. You're like, I love myself, I'm fun, I'm enough. And therefore it'll be easy for you to speak as well. And then a few years later, So I started to express myself a little bit more at work, but there was still fears there when it comes to authority. And then a few years later, I become pregnant, and I always thought, you know, I'm gonna birth in hospital, because how else, you know, what else would I do? But then when I become pregnant, like the thought of it really scared me, because I think I was already at the point in my journey where I was taking back control over my voice and over my body and my boundaries. And I've many times felt like those boundaries were crossed, where I wasn't heard through like medical staff. And funny enough, I was working in a medical setting at the time. And I thought, like, this isn't for me. And I was surrounded by women who chose a different path when it comes to birth, and they free birthed it. They birthed it at home, you know, with support or just on their own. And so I started surrounding myself more and more with different resources, women who shared their stories. And through that, I found my own path, I found my own voice. But in that journey, I found myself, I had to express my voice towards midwives, for example, doctors. And I'm sure, ladies, some of you can relate to how hard it is when you are faced with that authority, with a doctor, with a consultant, and they telling you, no, you can die, your baby can die, and you feel that threat and you don't feel heard and your needs aren't met. You know, so it was an amazing experience in terms of going deep, listening to my intuition, what I needed, what I wanted, what my body wanted. And my body here was like crucial. It was screaming. Like every time I thought about being in a room in hospital, it was like tense. Anxiety was there. Every time I visualized birthing at home, there was tears there, but tears of, this is so right. This comes from a place of love. So yeah, in my first pregnancy, in my second pregnancy, so my first pregnancy, I had to, like I said, you know, I had to fight a lot, but I learned to stand up for myself. And in my second pregnancy, I didn't have to fight much, because I already knew like myself and what was right for me. And after that, I thought, I can't go back to what I used to do. You know, I can't go back to working in hospital, and I can't go back to something that wasn't lighting me up. And the more I sat with it, the more I thought, you know, I reflected on my journey, and it all kept coming back to voice, you know, and claiming that voice and that power back. And I remember when I think it was about when I was 18, I remember sitting in a room back in Poland, and I was talking to my ex-partner back then. You know, one day I'm going to work with women. I don't know in what capacity, I don't know how. But I was at the time reading a book about like a teenager girl, and like that's what I'm going to be doing. And I remember this not long ago. I was like, wow, you know, this is pretty amazing. So yeah, and then it was almost 2 years ago when I started my own business. It was initially working with women in general, with women who struggle with speaking anxiety. So with that, it didn't matter whether you were a businesswoman or professional, or, you know, just a normal woman struggling to speak. Within family, for example. So yeah, setting boundaries, expressing her needs to a partner or family. But the more I dove into it, you know, and I realized I realized myself that I'm neurodivergent. I thought, oh my goodness, there are so many women out there like me who have those beautiful ideas and businesses and struggle to show up and speak up. So, in a nutshell, ladies, this is the story.
Absolutely gorgeous. You know, you make me almost emotional, thinking like how everything is connected. We're talking about voice, and then we're going to a pregnancy and having a babies and expressing yourself in actually this is one of the most important experience in our life for those who are parents.
Exactly.
And, you know, and or even, you know, if you are in pain, some people some people overuse the voice and some people cannot express the pain. So it is such an important thing. I'm covered with goosebumps, seriously. It is just talking about this.
I
It's
love
such a
goosebumps.
blessing. Kasia says, beautiful story. I can see myself in there. Oh my goodness. It is so enriching. As I told, it's gonna be wisdom. It's you know, it's a blessing. And even thinking how many obstacles we had on the way to meet up today.
No.
And how everything beautifully worked out. And I had that peace in myself, like it's gonna be what's gonna be, and it's gonna be fine.
Yes.
So there you go. And it is so enriching. So I know I'm taking so much from what you're saying, what you're sharing with us, Wioletta, and then for others, I'm sure you ladies having the same, and in the future, who's gonna be listening this one as well. And it's so much to overcome. And actually, the best message from that, it is possible to start
Absolutely.
using our voice.
Mm.
Be the queens of the voices, be the women in power through our voice. And I always say, we can use the voice to bless or to curse. And through that vibration, we're changing, we're making the ripple, we're changing the world.
Mm. Yeah, I like what you said about the ripple, and I like to say, like, to women, whether I work with women directly or whether I show up on social media, I say, you know, your voice is a door. It's a gate to opportunities. And I know some businesses don't rely necessarily on the use of your voice, but others do very much. And you don't realize how many opportunities you miss out on because you're not sharing what you do. You don't show up there and you don't speak. You know, and I'll give an example as well. So at the beginning of this year, I was running a workshop in Poland for women. And because I was speaking about it before and during and afterwards, other people reached out to me afterwards and said, can you organize something bespoke for my team, you know, for my business, for my staff? And none of that would have happened if I hadn't shared my voice, you know. And um the way I like to, I'll just add this as well quickly because I'm aware of time as well, ladies, that sometimes, you know, you probably heard in your life before someone saying to you, like, if you struggle with public speaking and just, you know, and you experience nervousness and anxiety, someone might have said to you, oh, you're not the only one who feels scared. Oh, I experience fear as well. You know, and you don't feel seen, you don't feel heard. And when you do this deep work around reclaiming your voice, you don't want to go against your fears. You don't want to go against your anxiety because they are there for a reason. And I often use this visual, and it's hard to demonstrate it on camera, but it works beautifully during in-person workshops. But what you want to do, yeah, so you've got yourself here, yeah, and you can imagine walking down that entrepreneurial path as you. But like I said before, whatever fear comes up, whether it's your fear of rejection, yeah, fear that you're gonna embarrass yourself, you forget what you want to say, you say something stupid, yeah, you want to put your arm around that fear. You're not fighting against it because it takes so much energy out of you. You lovingly put your arm around it. And what that means is you use different tools, different practices to let that fear be seen, let it be heard. so that then it doesn't scream at you. Yeah, because sometimes like, you can't do this, you're stupid, you're not good enough, you don't have enough qualifications. Yeah, it can scream really loud. Yeah, so let's take that power away from that fear. Yeah, so there's lots of different practice, and you put your arm around the fear. Then you put your arm around your inner child. Yeah, because this little girl wants to be heard and seen as well. Yeah. When you experience anxiety, it's very often that little girl and she doesn't feel safe. So it's being in connection with this little girl and walking down that path with that little girl and the fear here. Yeah. And then you want to extend your arm. So you've got fear here. And then next to it, you've got your highest self. Yeah. She's there too. So when you've taken care of your inner child and your fear, the higher self, the future you, if you like, is there guiding you as well. Yeah. And here, on the other side, next to your inner child, you've got courage. Yeah. So before you become confident in speaking, you have to be courageous. Yeah. And when you walk down that entrepreneurial path, or even in your life, with all these elements, all these little people here, we do lots of visualization when it comes to fear. We visualize. Sometimes it's like what did the girl say? It's like a black like a plasticine man, or like in a rubber it's like a rubber, like a stretchy, not a back suit.
Flexible, oh yeah, like a suit,
Yeah. To me, it's just like a colorful thing, energy. But anyway, so you walk through that entrepreneurial path and your life with all those things by your side. So you're not fighting anymore. There is no friction. And when things do come up, because you fear, it's always there. And when you walk into a room, it will always be there with you. Your little child, your little girl will be there with you, your future self. And it's knowing how to connect, how to make your fear inner child feel calm, and how to let your future self take over and lead. Yeah, I hope this makes sense, ladies.
This is absolutely beautiful. Just making your circle of people and things that supporting you, including the fear and the courageous. And I use also my ancestors. I'm very close with my grandma. She wasn't that close in some time, so this is really helping. And I know how this practice can make an impact and just be our the first audience on our side, actually, when we're starting going for what we want to. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I'm so delighted, for what you've shared with us, Wioletta. It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Neha saying also is so good. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. So, it's been a massive pleasure, and please join us later on whenever you have a time, today or tomorrow or after tomorrow as well, because it's more wisdom and treasures to come. And it's literally, as I said, there are like super diamonds and top people. They know what they're saying, they know what they're doing, and this is massive pleasure. And thank you so much for being with us today. And we're gonna disconnect now, and at 11 o'clock we will have Kasia Ziarkowska. And Kasia, she's the woman, she knows the plant medicine, she knows the aromatherapy, how to help yourself, and this is also loads of things going for the voice usage with aromatherapy. And she's gonna share with us about the power of medicine, and specifically on day like today, the 6th of January, the three wise man day, frankincense and myrrh. So see you soon. Thank you so much for now, and I'm full in love. I love you, for being with us. And
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure.